Wonderful. All right. So, while we're waiting, I'm just going to say hello to some of you that have put into the chat box where you're from. So, Donna is here from Columbia, Tennessee. Welcome. And welcome. Good morning, Chandani from Vancouver. And Samir is here from Milwaukee. Welcome. And Angela is here from Nashville, Tennessee. Welcome. And welcome to Connie from Devon. And Naomi is here from Detroit, Michigan. Welcome. Yeah. Love to see if anyone else would like to share where they're coming from. It's always nice to see, kind of where our virtual community is at. Yeah. Ah. Oh, no worries, Connie. Thank you for letting me know that you're in a car. And Michelle is here from Los Angeles. Yay. Happy that you're here as well. And Alice is here from Toronto. Welcome. Welcome. So we will go ahead and get started. But first, let's go ahead and maybe just lean in with a soft landing before we officially open the retreat to really arrive into our space. So if you are not in a comfortable position, please getting into a comfortable position now. Whether you're sitting up, lying down, standing, whatever feels right for you. Maybe even grabbing a blanket or shawl or pillows. Just allowing your body to feel held and comfortable. Inviting yourself to either close your eyes all the way or soften your gaze in one particular spot. And let's just start with bringing our awareness on the surface that is beneath us. Just noticing how it feels to be sitting, standing, or lying down. Connecting with the surface that's holding you. Connecting with the earth that's holding all of us here. Regardless of which city, which country or continent we're in. Knowing that we are held by planet Earth together in this moment. We are all in this one community, this one small community of beings. Bringing your awareness to the body. Noticing how it feels to be here, to be inside this one right here. If it feels right, you can even put a hand on the heart or perhaps somewhere else on the body for added support, soothing, and even connection with yourself. If you're comfortable, letting this hand on the body be a reminder of bringing kindness to this one here, to this one who matters. Perhaps now opening your heart space and noticing if you would like to create an intention for this BIPOC retreat. Listening to that voice inside of you. Creating an intention for today. And then gently whispering it into your own ear. Sending out this intention to everyone here in this virtual space as well. And then whenever you're ready, gently opening your eyes, bringing your awareness back into the space. Welcome everyone. It's really nice to have you all here. For those of you that don't know me, I'm Layla Narcy. I'm one of the coordinators for the CMSC Circles of Practice public offering. I'm also the BIPOC affinity lead for this public offering, and I'm really happy to have you all join us. I'd like to officially welcome you to our second annual BIPOC Silent Retreat. So this is a safe, compassionate space for everyone that identifies as Black, Indigenous, or a person of color. We do ask that no allies, please. This is a space for all of us that do identify as BIPOC. So this will be a 3-hour silent retreat. Each hour we will be joined by just a wonderful, distinguished mindful self-compassion teacher. And then in between each session, we will give you a few minutes for a bio break so you can stretch those arms, take care of your body. And we'd love for you to join us for the entire 3 hours, but we understand if you can't. I know life gets really busy. And for that reason, we've also made the decision to record this retreat. We've had a lot of people over time ask, for these sessions to be recorded. So we will have this recorded and be able to share it with you. This is a silent retreat, so it means that myself and the other 2 leaders will be offering you some teaching, guided practices, but then we do ask that you stay in loving silence throughout the retreat. And then at the end, we will offer some time for sharings. If you have any questions or if I can be of any assistance, please don't hesitate to use your chat box and reach out to me directly. So I'm going to be hosting this retreat, but I'm also going to be the first leader. So let's go ahead and get started. And I'm going to go ahead and introduce each of our 3 teachers today. And I'll be the first one. So I am Layla Narcy. I'm a trauma-informed psychotherapist in private practice in Texas. I'm also a certified mindful self-compassion teacher and just so honored to be a member of the Center for Mindful Self-Compassion's DEIB committee. And right now, as well as in the last few months, I've been working very closely with Dr. Kristen Neff to co-create and evolve a new pilot program. It's a 8-week course on fear self-compassion. And we really want to make sure our BIPOC voices are represented in that as well. Second teacher is just the amazing Dr. Sydney Spears. Sydney is a certified mindful self-compassion teacher. She's also the Center for Mindful Self-Compassion's director of the DEIB committee and the facilitator. She is also a clinical social worker who provides psychotherapy in private practice. Really honored to have her here. Our third amazing teacher is Dr. Dina Abu Aish. She's a mindful self-compassion teacher and an educator for public schools, teachers at the University in Los Angeles, California. She holds a doctorate degree in education. Dina teaches MSc-based sessions right here at the Circles of Practice on Thursdays at 4 p.m. Pacific, if you would like to catch one of her sessions. But she also offers them through Insight LA and the University of Southern California, as well as several other places. So really lovely to have you here. Wonderful, wonderful speaker. Yeah. Oh, and then also I want to mention Dina is also a member of our DEIB committee. So we are really well represented here in the DEIB committee and just really passionate about the work that we're trying to offer the world. Yeah. So I will go ahead and get started with my part. Today I'd like to offer a short teaching as well as a guided meditation on fierce self-compassion, but specifically on brave, empowered clarity. This is based on the work by Dr. Kristen Neff that she's done for several years on this topic. She also published a book last summer in 2021 called Fierce Self-Compassion: How Women Can Harness Kindness to Speak Up, Claim Power, and Thrive. But this book may initially have been written for women, but it's for everyone of any identity. And so is today's program. And then for those of you that may not be as familiar with self-compassion, the three elements of self-compassion are self-kindness, common humanity, and mindfulness. And each has a very important role to play when compassion is aimed at protecting ourselves. When we're fighting to keep ourselves safe, the three elements can manifest as brave and empowered clarity. So what's brave? It's kindness when it's needed in a designed way to protect us from harm. It's being strong, brave, courageous. Facing danger requires audacity and determination, and this helps us to tap into that. So we may need to climb out of a window to escape a burning building or undergo chemotherapy to combat cancer. We may need to speak up in our families or in our communities for what we believe in. Bravery is equally required where we're in psychological danger as well. So as I said, when we need to get our voices out, or when someone disrespects us, when there is racism, it's really important to be able to draw those healthy boundaries, but still resource ourselves, taking care of ourselves. Kindness compels us to demand for fair treatment and take action when we're treated unjustly. And this may also take a variety of forms, including conducting voting drives, writing opinion pieces, demonstrating and protesting at rallies, or really empowering ourselves in the workspace and interpersonal relationships, as well as within ourselves. Yeah. empowered. And so this is putting our sense of common humanity to work in the service of protection. That's the key source in empowerment. You may be familiar with a Pakistani female activist, Malala Yousafzai. She stands up for education for voices all over the world and is the youngest Nobel Prize laureate. And she says, I raise up my voice, not so I can shout, but so that those without a voice can be heard. We cannot all succeed when half of us are held back. Yeah. When we stand together with our human siblings, we know we're not alone. And there's strength in numbers. When we forget this and feel isolated by fear or shame, we think we're helpless. We may believe we can't change anything because the problem is so much bigger than ourselves. It's hard to protect ourselves when we feel alone. Similarly, if someone insults us and we take it personally, we might feel weakened or afraid. But if we can remember that we have the same rights and respect as every human being, we might be better able to defend ourselves. And this is a matter of common rights, matter of principle. And this is the common humanity piece. And then there's clarity. Mindfulness in the service of protection helps us to see clearly without turning away from the truth. Sometimes we don't want to acknowledge when harm is being done to us. So when our boss regularly passes over our comments favoring other colleagues in a meeting, it can feel really difficult, right, to tap into our voices. Part of us knows it's okay, it wasn't okay, but we may fool ourselves into thinking it's not a big deal. But this is where we can tap into what really moves us and be able to empower ourselves to use our voice. Mindfulness shines a light on harm being done and exposes what needs to change. It may compel us to see and speak the truth, to protect ourselves, protect others. And it does so with balance and perspective without minimizing the problem or blowing it out of proportion. When aimed at suffering, mindfulness is clear and vast enough to hold the truth, no matter how painful or unpleasant. Whether it's speaking out or simply keeping a dignified silence, we can use fierce self-compassion to protect ourselves from harm while still coming from a place of openness. So, with that being said, I'd like to invite everyone to join me for a guided practice. We're going to be doing the protective self-compassion break right now. So if you are able to get into a seated position, that would be wonderful, but always knowing that taking care of your body is really important. And then whenever you're ready, gently closing your eyes all the way, or just softening your gaze in one particular spot. Perhaps starting with taking a few deep cleansing breaths And if breathing is not comfortable for you, you can even gently sway your body forwards and back, or perhaps side to side. Or you can get connected into this moment through the soles of your feet, grounded to the floor beneath you. Or perhaps connecting with any of your five senses. Being here in this moment. Gently putting aside what we are ready to let go of. I'd like to now invite you to use your mind's eye. Think of a situation in your life that you feel you need to protect yourself from. Perhaps draw boundaries in, or somehow stand up for yourself. So, gently thinking of a situation where you may need to protect yourself, draw boundaries, or stand up for yourself somehow. And please be mindful to choose a situation where you feel it would be more of a mild to moderate level. Perhaps on a scale of 0 to 10, it's more of a 3 or 4, but not something that's a real extreme danger, since we are currently practicing the skill without wanting to overwhelm ourselves. Maybe you feel you're annoyed by a coworker, or you're being somehow treated unfairly by someone in your community or in a relationship. Or maybe you're thinking of some injustice that's occurring somewhere in the world right now. And if more than one situation comes up for you, see if you can land on just one. You can even ask yourself, check in with yourself. Does this feel right to work on? Or would this situation get me too overwhelmed? And if it feels like it would be too overwhelming, perhaps start with something smaller or pick another situation. Calling up this situation in your mind's eye, seeing it clearly, noticing what happened or what's happening now. What's going on? allowing yourself to feel whatever emotions are arising. Perhaps it's fear, anger, frustration, or something else. And now make contact with the discomfort as a physical sensation, noticing where this sensation sits in your body. And we're going to bring in the three components of self compassion so you can protect yourself as you need. So if you're in a sitting posture, I invite you to sit up tall in your seat, perhaps even bringing your shoulders up and back, your chest out if it's comfortable. And using your mind's eye, perhaps saying to yourself, my eyes are open. My eyes are open. Or maybe other words like, I want to see the truth. I will try to see the situation as clearly as possible. Or perhaps some other words speak more clearly to you, saying them to yourself now. And now we want to remind ourselves of the larger context, common humanity. So perhaps now saying to yourself, I do not stand alone. I stand with others. I do not stand alone. I stand with others. Or you can say, all human beings deserve just treatment. As I stand up for myself, I'm standing up for others as well. Or perhaps some other words speak more true for you when it comes to common humanity. And you can speak those words to yourself. And now I invite you to put one fist over your heart. Put one fist over your heart as a gesture of strength and power. We're going to be bringing some courage to our hearts. And if it feels right, saying, I will call upon my inner strength and be brave. I will call upon my inner strength and be brave. That's self-kindness. And you can say other words like, I will stand tall. I will find my voice. Or notice if there are any other words that speak to you as you're bringing fierce self-kindness. If you're having difficulty finding the right words, imagine that someone you really care about was being mistreated or taken advantage of in some way. What would you say to this person to help? To help them to be strong, to speak up, to have fortitude. What would your fierce friend say? Now, can you offer that same message to yourself? Hearing this message inside of you, breathing it in. And now finally, once again, putting a fist over your heart. And then taking your other hand and covering the fist in a tender way. So with one hand, putting a fist over your heart, and with the other hand, tenderly covering the fist. The invitation here is to combine the fierce energy of brave, empowered clarity with the tender energy of loving, connected presence. Noticing how that feels. Give yourself full permission to feel the force of your power, your resolve, your truth. But also to be able to touch with your natural caring. Letting this fierceness and tenderness slowly start to spread throughout the rest of your body. This dancing energy of yin and yang, tenderness and fierceness. And knowing that you can balance the tenderness and fierceness in whatever way feels right for you in this situation. Sometimes we need a little more fierceness, and other times we need a little bit more tenderness. Just noticing what it is that you need and letting that resonate within you. Aim your fierce compassion at the situation or behaviors causing the harm, not at the person or people causing the harm, since they are human, just like you and I. Can you call on your fierce energy to commit to taking action where it's needed? Yet, while still keeping the thread of connection alive. Seeing if you can allow both energies to flow. breathing it in, breathing in tender and fierce. Breathing in what you need. Allowing the flow of tender and fierce. Letting the energies dance within you, giving you what you would like to receive in this moment. And then I'd like to invite you to release this visual. Release this visual and just resting with your breath. Resting with your body gently breathing itself. Perhaps even noticing how it feels to have done this practice. Breathing what is alive for you in this moment. And when you're ready, gently opening your eyes if your eyes were closed. Maybe looking around your space to reconnect with the objects and colors in your room right now. Bringing your awareness back into your space. If it feels right, you can stretch your body. Stretching, bringing your energies back into this moment. Maybe having some water or tea. Before we end this session, I'd like to share a very special piece of a poem, a little quote that really speaks to me. This is by the American laureate Amanda Gorman. And she says, "For there is always light if only we're brave enough to see it. If only we're brave enough to be it." So I want to thank everyone here for joining me in this session. Really, gratitude from my heart. Gratitude for being part of this community. Yeah, thank you so much. So I will be here for the rest of this practice, this retreat. But we're going to take about a 10-12 minute bio break. And the top of the next hour, we will be joined with Dr. Sydney Spears. So please take a few minutes to take care of yourself. And if you can, staying in loving silence. Hello again. Welcome back. Um, so we will be having our second session now, and I will give the mic to Dr. Sydney Spears to get started.
Thank you so much, Layla. Layla, can you tell me whether you can hear me well?
Yes, I can hear you very well.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Yes, thanks again. I just wanted to say to everyone that I am just so elated to be here with you, especially with the work that I do in the Center for Mindful Self-Compassion around bringing more equity into the organization. And so I just have a deep passion, and to be with you today is definitely part of that. So thank you and welcome to everyone. I just wanted to say that the acronym BIPOC is intended to be inclusive of anyone in the world who identifies racially as a person of color. And that is your identification that should be honored by everyone, actually. And I don't know that whether you've heard about another acronym that some people use as well for people who identify as racialized or ethnically as well around the world. And that acronym is PGM, and that stands for People of the Global Majority. That some people around the world use that acronym rather than the BIPOC one, because some people feel as though people of the global majority is connected to truth, because the reality is there are more people who identify as of color around the world than people who are white identified. So either one is useful, but I just wanted to bring that forth as well during this retreat. And I want to honor you whether you identify with one acronym or the other, and to know that that is inclusive. I actually identify as a cisgender woman who racially identifies as multiracial, Black as well as Chinese, because my grandmother, who has passed away, unfortunately, she was Chinese. So I learned a lot about Chinese culture from growing up with her, and food, and she loved these little China dolls that she would bring in. It was lovely. It was lovely. So I have a total affinity, and I don't want to um, not own that part of myself. I don't want to own that, because that is part of my heritage and that is part of my ancestry as well. So I would like to invite, and I'm using the word invite intentionally with all of you, which means that you have a choice. You have a choice with anything that I invite you to possibly participate in. And if any time that you feel as though you want to make a different choice, you may want to focus on something else that's in your environment rather than what I am inviting you to share, or maybe whatever I'm saying that may be too difficult sometimes, or maybe not. Because anything can impact anybody at any point. So I just wanted to make sure that you knew that you had choices in terms of what you focus on at any time. I'd like to invite you to participate in a very brief soft landing, and then I will share a talk, and then after that, a brief meditation as well. So let's start, if you would like, with the soft landing. I do want to say that this soft landing is an invitation for you to possibly connect to your body, which is part of mindfulness practices and even practicing self compassion. That may be hard for some people, and if it is, that's okay. That's okay. Part of self compassion or lending self compassion to ourselves is to decrease some of the judgment, especially in this context around racialized judgment, but any type of judgment, and to bring more kindness to ourselves, as Layla mentioned earlier. So, this particular soft landing also will be an invitation to connect to your body through a little bit of imagery. And the imagery is around nature, because we all have to remember we are nature. Sometimes us humans will kind of separate nature from ourselves, like, oh, beautiful flowers and trees and animals and so on, the sky, the weather, etc., and really appreciate that. But we do need to remember that we're part of nature too, that there is that interconnection that is so important if you're able to do that. So that's part of the invitation for this really brief soft landing. You are welcome to participate in this soft landing by being seated, as I'm seated right now, or feel free to stand, or any other particular position of your body that you may feel will be more useful and more kind to yourself. So I would like to invite you for this soft landing, again, standing or seated. I'm seated now. Again, you can stand. I can also stand here. I'm going to move my chair back, actually. So I can stand, and I think you can still see me if I move back a bit. There. And as you may begin this soft landing, you might close your eyes, but know that you have the choice to bring your eyes wherever they may need to be in this present moment. Your eyes may need to just be lowered down toward the floor or the ground in your environment, or you may want to close your eyes. Keep them open, whatever you feel like your eyes might need, bringing attention and kindness to your eyes in this moment. And if you want to, you're welcome to possibly notice your breath just for a few moments. Just allowing your body to settle in wherever you are, right here, right now. Maybe even sensing your body, this human container that protects us all the time, that moves us around on the earth through our experiences. Maybe even bringing a bit of gratitude to your body for all that it does every day, internally and externally. And then, if you are able to do this, this is certainly a choice, you might call to mind some part of nature that you connect to. Like it could be a plant, maybe a tree that you really like, love, resonate with. Could be a flower or something else. Could be an animal. But know that that's a choice as well. And if you have chosen this imagery, you might hold that imagery in your awareness for just a few moments. Maybe noticing, sensing what it looks like, the size, the shape, the texture, or something else. And then from here, if you're participating in this soft landing, you might begin to hold your awareness with your imagery if you have one, but connect that imagery to your body as all of us being part of nature as well, making that possible interconnection. And starting with your feet, maybe feeling the connection of the soles of your feet, if this is accessible to you, making contact with the surface beneath your feet, beneath the soles of your feet, just like your nature imagery may be making contact with its roots. Or if it's an animal, maybe the paws, or a bird, making contact with the surface beneath you. And then from there, you're invited to possibly lift up from the soles of your feet, if that's accessible, lift up through your spine to the crown of your head, extending upward. For example, like the trunk of a tree, that strong trunk that's lifting from the roots and the foundation and being able to hold the sturdy trunk as your feet, if that's accessible, may be holding your legs, your upper body, your head rising up toward the sky. And possibly noticing what that might feel like in your body to lift and expand if you are doing this. Again, you have choices if that's not accessible to you. And then from here, you're welcome to lift your arms out to the sides, extending like branches of a tree or a plant, or the movement of an animal, or the weather, extending outward. Feel free to bend at your elbows if you are participating in this soft landing. So possibly rooting down from your feet, extending up through your spine, through the crown of your head, and extending outward into the world. And you're welcome to pause and notice anything that you may be feeling in your body, if possible. Again, a choice. And then from this point, you might begin to bring your arms together, your palms together. They could be touching one another. You could separate your palms. You might bring one palm on your upper chest and place the other one over it, bringing some possible kindness to yourself. Maybe noticing what it feels like for your palms to make contact with your body. Another option is to bring palms together away from your body. You might notice that point of contact, or you may not notice anything. There's no judgment, just perhaps noticing. And then lastly, feel free to drop your arms downward if that's accessible. You can always modify any movement if you need to, or not do the movement. Your arms are at your side, and then possibly lifting your arms upward toward the ceiling, toward the sky, as high or low. It's your own distance, your own way, your own expression. And possibly noticing what that might feel like in your body to lift upward, maybe extending your upper body, maybe rooting down from the soles of your feet. And if you are doing this, you may notice that actually this could be your true nature, opening to life despite racism and all the other isms that you may have experienced and others. And then when you're ready, feel free to bring your arms back down to the sides of your body, or any other alternate movement, or you can be in stillness. It's your choice. Your choice. And then when you're ready, feel free to release this soft landing and gently bringing your attention and awareness back to wherever you choose to bring your body to in your own compassionate and kind manner, expression, whether you're seated right now, standing, wherever it is. You have choices about your body. And that's part of liberation. Peace. So from here, I would like to share a little bit about the topic that I wanted to share with you today. And there's three aspects of this talk around being racialized in the world that I feel as though we don't talk about enough. And I feel like there needs to be more voice given to these particular three aspects of racialized experiences. But I do want to say that these three areas that I feel like we don't talk about enough doesn't mean that you have experienced them directly, because we can still have, a variation of racialized experiences around the world and different regions of one country even. So please know that what I'm sharing is about reflecting, for all of us to reflect on these three aspects and how they may or may not be impacting you. But again, just giving voice to these important aspects because they are truly connected to our liberation, our personal liberation and healing, and our collective liberation and healing. And the two, the personal and the collective, really need to be joined together. So, wherever you are in the world, or whatever region, like I said, there's a variation of experiences. We cannot say that all BIPOC folks are all people who are people of the global majority have the exact same experience. There's similarities, but again, differences. But regardless of that, there's one commonality around being racialized, if that's your identity, in different ways, different volumes, is that we've all been conditioned, whatever society that we have grown up in, whatever culture we have grown up in, all of those are sources of conditioning. If you think about it, when we were born, we were a blank slate in terms of the mind. We didn't have certain judgments and biases and experiences as a newborn child. We were totally blank. We didn't have, critical thoughts about ourselves, be they racialized or be they not. We were a blank slate. So maybe thinking about that can be helpful for us to know that really as an infant, in a sense, that was almost like our true nature, not having these biases toward ourselves, or we having biases toward others, or for some of us to think, oh, I can't do this, I can't do that, or the systems that we may interface with are have built stories and ideology that we have limitations in relationship to those systems. The ideology that supports systems of oppression. And if we take the root word of the word oppression, it's the word press. And that's what happens in oppression, that people are pressed down. They're not opened up, as I was inviting you to experience with your arms and your body, to be open, to be able to feel that freeness of openness, to feel that groundedness, that centeredness, that sense of safety. That systems of oppression have interrupted that, and how that impacts us when we have to deal with that consistently. It doesn't, for many of us, I know in my own experience, I have, throughout my entire life, I have really experienced a lot of oppression in its various forms. I've also witnessed and heard stories from my parents, being born and raised in the United States, of their oppression, and my grandparents, their oppression, which was much, much worse, and how that ancestry impacted me when it came to realizing, how much I was holding, not just in my mind, but also in my body. And so that may be the case for some of you, and it may not be. I want to be sensitive to the diversity within the diversity in this group as well, in this community and all communities. I do want to say the three aspects that are connected with that conditioning, however you experience conditioning, because we all have been conditioned again. The very first one is not talking enough, I feel like, about the inner critic, which is within self-compassion. Self-compassion is a practice that can be useful in responding more kind to our inner critic. But the racialized inner critic part, that I feel like we need to bring that more in the conversation. Like in here, this is a space of people who identify as BIPOC or people of the global majority. And that's hard. But where did we get that inner critic from, especially the racialized one, in most cases? Because sometimes the critic can be useful in terms of it can be protective because maybe there's something that we need to correct, or maybe we're out of bounds with something, or it's trying to help us get better with something. But a lot of times the inner critic can be harsh, and in particular when it comes to having thoughts about ourselves not being good enough. And why? Where's the source of that? Generally, it's from our conditioning. It doesn't mean it's from who we are. We're really like the blank slate of infancy, but we absorbed the ideology of who we are from the social environment and from the systems about who we are, our culture, um, all kinds of things that can be perceived as negative and limiting. Um, and we're not right. We don't fit in. We're the only one. We're excluded. There's injustices that we interface with. So all of those things converge together can create a really harsh inner critic for some people, and maybe more of a mild one at times for others. And other people maybe not, hardly at all. But that part right there is so important for us BIPOC folks to reflect upon, and how practicing mindfulness and self-compassion can be useful. It's one of the big resources that we can go to when that harsh inner critic arises. The second one that I feel like needs more voice and more amplification of its reality. Unfortunately, it's a reality because of how we were conditioned and socialized, especially from dominant systems, is body oppression, that we can easily internalize feeling badly, some of us, not all of us, about our bodies. Because a lot of the ideology that has been falsely created about different bodies has been negative, through media, social media, through movies, through systems, just all other kinds of communications about who we are. About features, physical features of nose, eyes, lips, skin color, size, all kinds of things, textures, hair, cultures. So it's not uncommon for some of us to beat ourselves up about our bodies, because this is the carriage that the ideology from the dominant systems have created the stories from. How do you make a differentiation between people who are perceived and built to be normed and standard and right and good and beautiful and inclusive versus those that are not? And it's generally making judgments about this carriage. So that's why it can be really easy for some of us to feel badly about parts of our bodies or our body in general because of the external judgments that systems and other people can make about who we are, and the meaning of that for us. So practicing self-compassion can be, again, a resource that can be very useful. Both fierce self-compassion, which is about being protective of ourselves and protective of our bodies, and making those boundaries that we need to make, and speaking up when we need to speak up, for example, as well as tender self-compassion when we feel really hurt from being microaggressed, for example, someone making a comment about our body, even age. People make comments about age because we're not just racialized. We have other intersections of identity with race, like our age, our gender identity, and they all converge. And many people can make, and systems can make judgments, harsh or negative, and false judgments about our body based on those aspects as well. And then the third one, I really feel like as a collective of BIPOC folks, it is often not talked about within our community. So this is more about, as opposed to self with the first two, this is more about how we think about our communities or our culture, the people within our culture, the culture or the community racially that we identify with. How do we really think and feel about them? And for some, not everybody, but for some of us, we can have some harsh judgments directed or criticisms of those people too, that community, our own community that we identify with. Maybe not the entire community. Sometimes it could be just certain people within the community that we can have harsh judgments or biases toward them as well. And again, where did that come from? In most regards, it is funneled and it's fueled from how we were conditioned, especially around white supremacy. That if it doesn't seem like white supremacy that we have absorbed, because we all have absorbed that too, that within our own culture, racialized culture, ethnic culture, when we see something that's not fitting in the way we think it should and not toward white supremacy, then some of us can start to criticize that. We kind of take on that white supremacist lens, and then we will project it onto people within our culture. Some of those people, or maybe all of them for some people, that aren't in alignment in some way, shape, or form. So that breaks that interconnection that we need. And then it breaks the first two, the racialized inner critic, as well as the body oppression. That can break the connection that we really need and the healing that we need for ourselves. And then the third one, again, the internalized white supremacist view for people within our own community. If we are doing that, that can break the connection with our community. And we need that collective healing as well. The other thing that I wanted to mention is that a lot of individual personal healing and collective healing is centered around us finding our center personally and our healings personally and dismantling those harsh thoughts that we have internalized and been conditioned to absorb around our bodies, around our limitations, around other communities. And we don't want to forget that we actually have the internal power. And I'm going to repeat that. We actually have the internal power to heal, even in the face of injustices from the external world. I'm not saying that the injustices from the external world don't. What we truly have total control over is our internal reality. our internal reality. That we have control over. So I would like to invite you to participate in a very brief meditation. It's condensed, but I feel like it's in alignment with what I just shared with you. If you are willing to participate in it, and again, as I mentioned at the beginning, you have choices in terms of what you want to focus on or not. And this meditation is around just what we need: loving kindness. And for those of you who don't know about loving kindness, it is just what those two words, it's bringing in those two words, lovingness, and kindness to others in our communities and to ourselves as well. And it's about extending goodwill despite the challenges, despite the hurt, despite the pain. Um, Common humanity, we all suffer. We all have pain in this life. It's just the way life is. But we also have, those moments of potential gratitude, goodness, kindness, um, appreciation, joy as well. And sometimes because our brains are wired for the negativity bias, we can really hold on to the negative and kind of forget about the positives and the openness and the glory and the joy that life can bring us to, despite the challenges, despite the racism and all the other isms that we experience in its various forms and shapes and sizes. So, possibly participating in bringing goodwill, it's a sense of bringing in some happiness, even some freedom, because that's really what we're trying to do in terms of social justice, is moving toward liberation of self and others in the collective. So if you'd like to participate, feel free to bring your body to posture that is possibly most compassionate for you, most kind for you. Maybe noticing what your body needs in this moment. Standing, seated, maybe something behind your back, or being exactly where you are. You're welcome to bring your eyes to wherever your eyes need to be. Open, closed, maybe lowered down partially toward the floor or the ground. And you are welcome to bring to mind at least one person or maybe even a community from the BIPOC community that you identify with, or it could be a person who's BIPOC from another community, but someone who you feel like, I really, really, really appreciate this person. I really, really, really feel like this person kind of makes me inspired. They make me smile. I have gratitude for this person. But the person doesn't have to be identified as BIPOC either. But maybe just calling one person or a group, a community to mind. If you do have a person or a community in mind, you might begin to create a brief image of this community or person, holding the person or the community in your awareness. And if you'd like to extend some loving kindness, some goodwill to this individual, that even though they may be inspiring, they make you smile, you appreciate this person or community, they also suffer too. We all do. So you might extend a couple of loving kindness phrases that I will share with you if you'd like. And the first one is, may you be peaceful. Repeating that phrase toward the person or community for a few moments. May you be peaceful. And you're welcome to share a second loving kindness, extending that out to the collective or the person of your choice. And the second loving kindness phrase is, may you be at ease. May you be at ease. And if you'd like, feel free to bring the first loving kindness phrase to yourself, such as, may I be peaceful. May I be peaceful. Toward yourself, repeating for a few moments. And lastly, you're welcome to extend the second loving kindness phrase, repeating it toward yourself for a few moments, which is, may I be at ease. May I be at ease. And now we will end this brief practice of loving kindness. So you are welcome, if you like, to release this practice. And I would like to share just a few lines of something that I wrote in alignment with this session, just briefly. Attending to cultivating our true nature on our own terms and scripting our own definitions and stories of self. As a deeper and authentic BIPOC, transformational, and centered way of being. Weaving together our cultural ancestral legacies, connection to racialized communities, and with our vulnerability, which is never, ever a moment of weakness, but rather brilliant hues of survival, authenticity, elevation, held within the container of self-compassion, self-affinity, self-advocacy, illuminated and radiated by our light and love of our authentic healing, and ultimately, true liberation for all of us. Thank you. Peace.
Thank you so much, Sydney. That was really, really moving. Really appreciate that. So we will be taking a few minutes in silence now. So the invitation is to stay in silence and do something resourceful for yourself, or perhaps even taking a little break for yourself. And we will return in a few minutes with Dr. Dina Abu Aish. So welcome back, everyone. Yeah, we're going to get started with our next speaker. So we have Dr. Dina Abu Aish, who will be here leading a session, our last session. So I'm going to go ahead and give the mic over to Dina.
Thank you, Layla. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
All right, thank you. All right, friends. Let's continue. Let's continue here together. Just inviting you back to your seat or where you were standing or laying down, and just arriving once again with a soft landing for a few minutes. So just inviting you once again to allow your attention to draw inward. And if you'd like, placing a hand on your heart or on your belly or both. Maybe taking a few deeper breaths. And coming home once again. Coming home to this moment. Coming home within your body. Within your body, heart, and mind. Maya Angelou says, "The ache for home lives in all of us. The safe place where we can go as we are and not be questioned. The safe place where we can go as we are and not be questioned." So coming home, that's with a capital H. Together here in this space, and coming home to yourself. Just feeling the breath move through your body, if that feels comfortable for you. Feeling the posture of your body from the inside out. Feeling the support of what is right beneath you, holding you up. That chair or sofa, perhaps, or the ground beneath your feet. Feeling that support and going a little deeper and sensing into the support of the earth, Mother Earth. This invisible force of gravity that she wields to belong, each of us, to her and to each other. Seeing if you might allow yourself to feel into that connection to being held by her and by one another, and releasing a little more on the out breath. Just releasing tension in the body, the heart, the mind, to whatever degree feels comfortable, accessible right now. Just letting it dissolve on the exhale. Maybe feeling some energizing and new sort of refreshment on the inhale. So for a few moments here, tuning into this rhythm, this natural rhythm of the breath moving through your body. And welcoming yourself once again to this moment of being alive in this human body. With all its joys and sorrows. For a few more moments, just being and breathing together. Knowing that fellow community members here across the globe are being and breathing with you. This beautiful BIPOC community here. Just being and breathing. And really gently just beginning to bring in gentle movement. You needn't even open your eyes yet if they were closed or are. Just, beginning to gently shift, maybe swaying or rocking or twisting or stretching. And really attuning to your body as you do this, noticing all the micro shifts of sensation as you move. Feeling it like as if this body were a new suit that you just put on, that you just inhabited, and with a little bit of wonder and awe at these sensations. Some perhaps pleasant and maybe, maybe some a little unpleasant. Bringing a tender heart for all of it. And if you wish, opening your eyes if they were closed. And as it feels right to you, making your way back to this community and inviting you, if you'd like, to turn on your camera. This is not a necessity at all. And it's lovely to get to see one another. You might take a look at the faces and names here, this community of practice today. And so let me just, briefly say hello again. I'm Dina Abu Aish, and it's just such an honor and a privilege to be here with you today, practicing in this BIPOC community, compassion and self-compassion. And I'm grateful to be an MSc teacher with the Center for Mindful Self-Compassion, and also part, as Layla mentioned in the introduction earlier, of the diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging team, along with Sydney and Layla. This is something I feel very honored to be a part of, along with all of you. And I just want to say these days I'm finding belonging and joy in deepening my connection with my Middle Eastern, North African roots, in ancestors and cultural heritage. And over the last years, I've been reconnecting, especially after the passing of my beloved parents. Reconnecting with my large and extended family in Egypt, having grown up myself in Southern California to an immigrant and Muslim family. And in the way of naming some of my other identities, I am also a cisgendered woman, though I use the pronouns she and also they, because I do acknowledge the full range of my gender being, and also all my ancestors that live within me. So that feels good to me. And I'm heterosexual. I feel grateful that I am able-bodied. And just to name a few, and I also feel moved to name that I consider myself a slow, emotional and mental processor. I need time. And so these are just some of the ways of being that have impacted me and continue to impact me in my life, just as each of us have and hold. If we had more time, I would invite each of us to share, some of those identities, but maybe you might just taking a brief moment, calling to mind some of the salient ones that are meaningful for you. Because there's beautiful diversity here within our space together, as well as connection and belonging as BIPOC human beings. So it's really good that we're here together. And rest, an opportunity for rest, for self-nourishment, is so important. So taking time to come into our natural rhythm, which is actually medium to slow, That's what our natural rhythm of being on planet Earth is as human beings. It's natural, it's medium to slow, right? If you look to nature and the living beings of the plants, things only move quickly when they're in danger. So rest is actually a form of resistance to the dominant capitalist Western culture, which can incessantly demand us all to be in the fast lane all the time. So I love this Tricia Hersey, who's an African-American author. She's known as the nap bishop. And that's nap as in, taking an afternoon nap. She actually invited folks in pre-pandemic to come out and nap together in the middle of the day. And instead of a flash mob, it was a flash nap. And people would nap together. And she says, rest in its simplest form is an act of resistance and a reclaiming of power, because it asserts our most basic humanity. So we are enough, she says. And the systems, those systems that would wish to exploit and dehumanize us, cannot have us. And so rest and nourishment is an assertion of that. So, yeah, honoring that we're here together to get nourished and that we're all holding a lot as BIPOC human beings here on this planet. Part of, as Sydney said, the global majority, people of the global majority. So we're all holding a lot in terms of what's happening in our world, all over our world, as well as what's happening within our own personal ecosystems and ourselves, as well as our families and communities. And I'm just going to speak for a few minutes here. Many people I know are exhausted. These are really difficult times that we're living in. And many of us are experiencing grief or anxiety. I know that I have been, or maybe both. And when we have an identity or identities also that are being marginalized or oppressed by mainstream culture, like being BIPOC or holding a marginalized gender identity or religion or sexual orientation or body image or other identities, we suffer. We suffer more. And often, as Sydney spoke to, internalize a harsh, critical voice or shame. So it's important to name this, to recognize this, that it's that we're not alone in that, and that it's not our fault. And it is our responsibility to care for ourselves, to care for our bodies, hearts, and minds. And so it's really powerful that you've made the choice to be here today. Your showing up here, and each of our showing up here, is an act of compassion and self-compassion. And self-compassion is an antidote for our suffering. It's an antidote to the harsh inner critic and for feelings of despair or shame or self-judgments of unworthiness that we all feel at times, and sometimes greater than at other times. We all cycle through these, and hopefully it's an upward spiral. So I love this quote from Bell Hooks, the late African-American author, professor, feminist, social activist. She said, one of the mighty illusions that is constructed in the dailiness of life is that in our culture, is that all pain is a negation of worthiness. That the real chosen people, the real worthy people, are the people who are most free from pain. And this is not true. This is a lie. And all of us, right? All of us experience difficult emotions, and they arise for all of us from conditions in our personal lives, as well as from the broader social and cultural conditions. And again, it's not our fault. Sydney spoke to the various conditions for how things arise. It's not our fault, but it is our responsibility to care for ourselves, right? And even the smallest sincere gesture, toward self-love and self-compassion, even if it initially feels awkward, will serve you well, will serve us well. And I just want to say a few more words before we begin to move into a meditation. Just that it's so important that we all recognize what like the late cultural anthropologist Angeles Arrien called our original medicine. That each of us is original medicine for healing ourselves and our planet. So it's just so awesome to think that no one else on the planet has our particular fingerprint, right? Or our particular voice print, or no one else has the same arrangement of the iris of the eye, which means that there's a different way of seeing that each of us has. And that a vision that needs to be honored, right? And given voice to. No one else has that particular constellation of our dream, our life dream and gifts and talents. So we need to be able to cultivate and answer yes to the question, is my self-worth as strong as my self-critic? Right? And so self-compassion helps us remember and strengthen that yes. And sometimes we grip tightly to the pain because it feels so deeply ingrained, but we need to remember who we truly are. And remember the beauty of our own true nature. I'll say a few words of this poem before, from the poet laureate, former Joy Harjo. She's a member of the Muskogee Creek Nation, called Remember. She says, remember the sky that you were born under. Know each of the stars' stories. Remember the moon, who she is. Remember the sun's birth at dawn. If you wish, you can allow your eyes to close as you hear this. That is the strongest point in time. Remember sundown and the giving away to night. Remember your birth, how your mother struggled to give you form and breath. You are evidence of her life and her mother's and hers. Remember your father, he is your life also. Remember the earth, whose skin you are, red earth, black earth, yellow earth, white earth, brown earth. We are earth. Remember the plants, trees, animal life. who all have their tribes, their families, their histories, to talk to them, listen to them. They are alive poems. Remember the wind. Remember the voice, her voice. She knows the origin of this universe. Remember, you are all people and all people are you. Remember, you are this universe and this universe is you. Remember, all is in motion, is growing, is you. Remember the dance that life is. Remember. And so we can remember the beauty of our own true nature and practice with self-compassion. And I'm going to invite you into a practice of being with difficult emotions, with pain in a new way. So one that is less personal, that loosens the grip of identifying with them. And in MSC, with mindful self-compassion, we describe 3 helpful ways of being with difficult emotions. And I'll guide these in the meditation. The first one is labeling, so identifying and validating the emotions, right, which helps us to honor and bear witness to our pain. And it also helps us to disentangle from them, to allow us to feel some emotional freedom, some space. So labeling and naming, identifying. The second one is finding the emotions in the body. Right? So feeling emotions as sensation versus thinking about them, which can often get us into a loop. So our emotions have mental and physical components. And our body awareness is a really important part of regulating emotions. Beginning to change our relationship to that with the body. And then the final one is soften, soothe, and allow, which is emphasizing this yin aspect, the tender aspect of self-compassion. Layla emphasized or was practicing with the fierce element in balance with the tender, and the soften, soothe, and allow really emphasizes the tender. So, and the softening of the physical, the soothing with the emotional, and the allowing of whatever mental activity is happening. And this kind of approach allows us to release it, to stop resisting. And this giving up of resistance, this means we suffer less. So it's honoring the truth of our feelings and our experience. Okay, so I'd like to invite you now into this meditation, which would be about 15 to 20 minutes. And in it, I'm going to be asking you to bring to mind a current difficulty or some pain that you're experiencing lately. So please know that you always have a choice. So you can participate as much or as little as you wish at this time, depending on how open or closed you feel or need to be right now. And if you do choose to begin, you can always disengage if that's what you need, or to simply stay with the sensations of breathing or sensations in the body. And you can drop below my words at any time. So thank you for your kind attention with those words, and inviting you to draw your attention inward once again. And if you'd like, placing a hand here on your body, now on your heart or on your belly, offering yourself some soothing or supportive touch for a few moments, just once again to remind yourself that you're worthy of your own kindness. You're worthy of kindness. Taking a few breaths to feel this. Breathe with the warmth and the gentle pressure of your touch. Connecting again to the support that you are held by the ground beneath you, the earth. And feeling the movement of the breath through your body. And when you're ready, allowing yourself to bring to mind some difficult emotions, some difficult situation or experience that you've been feeling, having of late. Allowing this to be maybe just a mild or moderate level that you tap into this for now. Since this is a brief meditation, just resourcing yourself appropriately, tapping into some difficulty you've been experiencing. Maybe it's a health issue or a family problem, something at work, or a relationship that's challenging you, or pain or stress related to social injustice. Beginning to, by the way, you may want to, for now, not choose a situation in that where you feel you have to protect yourself from, that makes you feel extremely angry, since what we'll be practicing here are soothing qualities rather than the fierce, sort of protective qualities of compassion. We're emphasizing here the yin aspect of softening and soothing. So maybe noticing what emotions are arising. Is it sadness or grief? Is there fear or a sense of despair? Or longing? See if you can begin to name some of the emotions that arise as you consider this situation in your life. And if it is anger that arises, you don't need to suppress it. You can validate its presence too. And if you're unsure what emotion you're feeling, that's okay. For now, just experiencing this kind of painful emotion, difficult emotion is enough. Acknowledging. And if you are having many emotions, then seeing if you can identify and name the strongest emotion that's associated with what's happening in your life. Maybe repeating the name of that emotion to yourself in a really tender, understanding voice. The same way that you might validate the emotion for a friend if they were feeling it. Oh, this is longing. That's longing. Or, okay, this is grief. Grief is here. This is grieving. Or fear. Fear is arising. And so just choosing that strongest emotion and acknowledging it, and then beginning to expand your awareness into your body as a whole. And as you are experiencing this painful, difficult emotion, scanning your body for where you feel it most. So you could kind of sweep your body from head to toe and notice and pause, maybe stop in the location where you sense the tension or discomfort. And so just noticing what's feelable in your body right now, nothing more. Breathing. And if you can, finding one location in your body where this feeling is expressing itself. It might be a familiar place or it could be a new place. So it might be some point of muscle tension in your neck, or it might be a painful feeling in your stomach or an ache in your heart. And inclining gently to that spot, just feeling into it, and then beginning to softening that location in your body. And if finding one place in your body feels too specific or too strong, you can just be with the general sense of discomfort. If you are able to locate softening in that part of your body or all over, letting your muscles soften and relax, just as if you were in warm water, like a warm bath. softening, softening, softening. And also just to name that if there's something stronger like anger that's arising, you can let that energy flow freely through your body without stifling it. This softening may not feel appropriate. But staying with that emotion that you identified and holding it in a tender way if you're able, making space, not trying to change the feeling, but holding it tenderly and remembering that you're free to open your eyes whenever you may need to and let go of this exercise and just feel your breath. Now beginning to soothing yourself just because this is difficult. Because this is difficult. So, once again, if you wish, if you released it, placing a hand over any part of your body that feels uncomfortable and just feeling once again that warmth, the gentle touch of your hand. Maybe imagining some warmth and kindness just flowing through your hand and into your body. Perhaps thinking of your body as if it were the body of a beloved child or being that you care about, and soothing, bringing soothing, emotional soothing. Breathing in this soothing. Taking it in. And as you breathe in this soothing, if there are any comforting words that come that you may need to hear, then offering those words to yourself. Maybe it's the same words that you would say to a dear loved one, a friend who's struggling with these same difficult, painful feelings. In the same way, what would you say to your friend? Seeing if you can offer yourself those words. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry you're feeling this way. I care. I care so deeply about you. Or this is so unfair. I'm here with you. I won't leave you. Whatever words. You need to hear. So soothing and simply allowing Really just allowing this pain or discomfort to be there. Making room for it, even honoring it if that feels right. Releasing the need to make it go away, if possible, even just for these moments. Just allowing, allowing yourself to be just as you are, just like this. And combining these softening, soothing, allowing, taking some time to be with all three of them. Softening your physical body where it feels right, to the degree it feels right. Soothing the emotional body, touch, words, image, and allowing this experience, all the components, bringing some self-compassion to your mind, your heart, and your body. It's possible you may notice the feeling starts shifting or changing in your body. Just continuing, softening, soothing, allowing. And now just letting go of this practice and allowing yourself to feel just as you are, be exactly as you are in this moment, focusing on your body as a whole. And as we begin to close this meditation, I'd like to just offer a poem. This poem is by Antonio Machado. And he writes, "Last night as I was sleeping, I dreamt. Marvelous error. that a spring was breaking out in my heart. I said, "Along which secret aqueduct, O water, are you coming to me? Water of a new life that I have never drunk." Last night, as I was sleeping, I dreamt, marvelous error, that I had a beehive here inside my heart, and the golden bees were making white combs and sweet honey from my old failures. Last night, as I was sleeping, I dreamt, marvelous error, that a fiery sun was giving light inside my heart. It was fiery because I felt warmth as from a hearth, and sun because it gave light and brought tears to my eyes. Last night, as I slept, I dreamt, marvelous error, that it was God I had here inside my heart. And I might suggest to Antonio and all of us that it's no error. And so just very slowly and gently as you feel ready, once again beginning to just move your body slowly and gently. Taking your time. And gently opening your eyes when you're ready and just reorienting for a moment to the space that you're in. Noticing again the objects that are there, their color, their shape, the space that they're held in. And thank you for your practice.
Thank you so much, Dina. Really appreciate that beautiful practice that you just offered us. Thank you. You know, we've had this balance of fierce and tender offerings during this retreat today, from myself, from Sydney, from Dina. So I'd like to close out our retreat and do a short practice, blending both of these areas together, blending our tenderness, our yin, blending our fierceness, our yang, as we hold to our authentic voices, as we hold to our identities, all the identities that are within us. So let us sit for just a few more minutes, holding these energies. And once again, if you would like, you can gently close your eyes for a few moments, or just softening your gaze in one particular spot, bringing your awareness back to the breath, or perhaps to the soles of your feet as you connect through your floor into planet Earth. Connecting into this beautiful planet that we share with all beings. Feeling the tender and fierce energy that we can receive from all beings. And how we can offer that energy back from ourselves. If it feels right, perhaps once again, sitting with your back straight, perhaps putting both hands on your solar plexus, your center, your belly region. Connecting your hands to your inner strength. Noticing your breath without needing to change it or control it, just letting it be. As you breathe in, imagine that you are breathing in fierce, young compassion. Feel the energy rising from the base of your spine and through your entire body. And if you'd like, you can imagine young, fierce energy as a bright white light flowing through you. You could also imagine a powerful force of nature, or perhaps the movement of a powerful animal, like a big cat. Taking a big breath in and holding it for several seconds. Then releasing. And now placing your hands on your heart or some other place that feels soothing. Begin to focus your out breath, feeling yourself relax with each exhale. As you exhale, giving yourself permission to let go and let be. With each out breath, imagine that tender yin compassion is flowing through you. loving, connected presence. Letting it nurture you, heal you. If you like, you can imagine the yin energy as a soft golden light. Again, taking a big breath in and holding it for several seconds. Then release. Now bring your yin and yang together, your tender and fierce together. So putting one hand on your heart, the other hand on your solar plexus. As you breathe in, imagine that you are inhaling fierce yang energy. As you breathe out, imagine that you are exhaling tender yin energy. Allow these two energies to flow freely in your body, merging and integrating. Let the inward and outward flow be as natural as movement of the ocean. Waves going in, waves going out. Feeling free to focus your experience on the yin and yang. Before you open your eyes, I'd like to share a little something. The first is from Maya Angelou, an American poet laureate. In her Still I Rise, she says, "You may shoot me with your words, you may cut me with your eyes, you may kill me with your hatefulness, but still, like air, I'll rise." And next, Khalil Gibran says, "In one drop of water are found all the secrets of all the oceans. In one aspect of you are found all the aspects of existence." Hmm. So whenever you're ready, if your eyes were closed, please open your eyes. I want to thank all of you for being here in our second annual BIPOC retreat. Thank you so much for our amazing speakers today, Dr. Sydney Spears and Dr. Dina Abu Aish. Thank you so much for your passion in this work. And I want everyone to know that we belong and our voices are heard. And for those of you that may not be aware, I'd like to also share that we have free BIPOC affinity sessions every Thursday at 4 p.m. Pacific. Oh, I'm sorry, 3 p.m. Pacific. And so if you would like to join us, you can register the same way you did today at signup.centerformsc.org. And now, as we close our retreat, please feel free if you would like to share in the chat box. I know some people have already started doing that. And if you have any words you'd like to share, please feel free to do so. As we come out of this silence, I also want to invite you to stay in silence throughout the day, if that feels right for you. And just always staying in choice. Also feel free to unmute as we sign off to say goodbye to our friends. Goodbye, everyone. Have a great weekend. Bye. Take care. Thank you,
Bye.
everyone.
Thank you.
Bye. Take care.